Allegedly, we are living in a chopped man epidemic, which is very interesting to me because of I feel like this era we have never focused on our looks as extensively and as obsessively as we have during this specific era, this specific moment in time, which feels kind of weird, especially we could go for men and women, but I want to talk about men real quick. It feels really weird. Like I even noticed it myself. And from the sheer amount it takes for me to just get ready. I remember talking to the older generation about stuff like that, and they're always wondering, especially people that's really close to me, they're always like, how do you take so long to get dressed? Like it's clothes, shower, even without the shower, with the shower, it taking far too long. And I feel like that's just part of the day and age that we're living in to begin with. Because like just even as a man, even just as a man, I have noticed the simple obsession with having to be fashionable, having to be a certain size, having to be working on skincare. That is a very average thing to be obsessing over. But then there's this other overarching theme where people are not going out as much as they used to, and they're very much desensitized to what an actual human being looks like, which is very weird to me. It's very weird. And this can all just go back to social media. You know what? Let's talk about social media for a bit. Social media has this way of actually let me not even say social media. Social media algorithms have this way for just object social media algorithms have this obsession with having the most beautiful people on your screen. You know why? Because people want to look at beautiful people. No matter what they're talking about, no matter what they're doing, if they are hot, it's a thumbs up. They're gonna get pushed all throughout the internet. And it started to really make me recognize, do you really enjoy somebody, or do you just enjoy the way that they look? And keep in mind, we're gonna get back to the chop man epidemic when I will circle. Even on the side of TikTok that I'm on the philosopher, I'm on the chatting, I'm on the yappers of the yaps. And one of the things that I've noticed, the people that are more attractive, their points get taken far more seriously than everybody else, which irks me. It really, really irks me. Because it's like your point doesn't get more validity just because of you look a certain way, or at least it shouldn't, because that's beyond the part of it just being unfair, but it doesn't work like that. That doesn't make sense, because you give a lot of space for the people that don't know anything to be sprouting so much nonsense. And just because they're attractive, you're willing to like, oh, I mean, yeah, I can see it. It does make sense for this individual with their own their own personal views or their own happenstance, for example. It just makes sense because it's them that is talking, which I feel like deters from the point of people interacting with each other. But I want to talk about being chopped for a little bit. Number one, we don't know what average really is. Like, I personally enjoy going outside because of it reorientates me to what the average man truly looks like, right? Because of one of the things that I've noticed, to not be considered chopped, you just got to do a couple things. Exercise, eat relatively well, and sleep well. That's all. If you do those a couple things here and there, and then you add in the sidebar of charisma and things of that nature, you are going to look far more beautiful than the average person will look. But I feel like we are missing out on the instance of this shouldn't matter, and we are missing out to the fact that we're missing out on the fact that our generation, just like Gen Z to begin with, has this obsession with the way that they look. Like I've noticed, especially with these new seasons of, like, for example, Love Island or a lot of these reality shows, when there was a reality show that came out where this is like in the last like 2-3 years, where all of the 20-year-olds that were on the show, everyone's like, oh my god, they just look 35 and like 44, but they're like 22. And that that is part of people obsessing over trying to be beautiful. That is partially in turn with people trying to make themselves look as beautiful as possible, to be as consumable as possible. Because that's another aspect of the conversation that people are not recognizing when it comes to this quote unquote chopped man epidemic, right? Like, I didn't realize how common Botox was, or liposuction, or all these different body augmentations, or even something like height implants or ab implants like we've been seeing recently, where that people are willing to get whole surgeries just to be deemed beautiful or deemed attractive. Like we just left the summer where everybody was breaking their leg bone into two and then stretching it out so they can look. Quick tangent. The part that upsets me the most with this overemphasizing on the way that people look, people realize that your true beauty comes from the way that your body was supposed to naturally look, and the way that you were supposed to naturally grow into yourself, right? Because you could do some things to raise the bar on the way you look. For example, eating more fruits and vegetables, removing all the processed food, not eating so much sugar, things like that, right? But using all these different and more surgical ways and more medical ways to change the way that you look detracts from the way that you are supposed to look. And that's how you get this uncanny effect that comes around, right? And when it comes to men specifically, I have noticed, especially with this rise in fitness influencer content and things of that nature, there has been a push for young men to, well, let me say it like this. Believe it or not, there has been a push for young men to take steroids, to take trend, to be able to do those things to get as big and as quote unquote like beautiful as humanly possible, to be seen as valuable and things of that nature, which is insane for the long-term health of these children, honestly, of these children, right? But let's look back at the chop man epidemic just a little bit more. I'm of the strong incantation that a lot of women don't even want, or at least a lot of straight heterosexual women do not want an overly handsome or attractive man to begin with. Because the reason why I was thinking about this whole tangent, I saw this TikTok where this lady was talking about how she rarely, if ever, sees any truly beautiful men. It just makes her feral anytime that she sees them, and it's just unfair that men, they're never this overarching push for them to look as good as possible and but women have to go and put in all these hours to their looks and makeup and exercise to not be fat and do this and this. But which two things can be true. I will say two things can definitely be true. But I will say that it does detract from the fact that having handsome... Actually, no, let me restart. One of the things that runs through my mind when I think about people wanting very attractive men, you don't realize how being ugly helps your personality. I know a lot of handsome folks that have the personality of a cardboard box because they've been very handsome since they're a very young child. And then they just grew up to be even more handsome, where they don't know how to talk to a wall. Because that's just that's not their game. They don't ever have to do the approach or shooting their shot and things of that nature. So having this emphasis of really wanting only beautiful people, or it could, but then again, it could honestly be one of those cases of they don't want beautiful men, they just want to look at beautiful men. More like the objectification, the same way men tend to objectify women when it comes to emphasizing on wanting someone that's attractive. It gets to the point where you have to remove the human aspects of them for you to like still view them as desirable and beautiful and things of that nature. It's kind of like the effect of the more that you talk to them, it's just that I don't want to say that underlying obsession dissipates, but you're not able to put your crush ahead of who they are as a human being, which honestly is the main aspect of having a crush. Because of like, we've all heard the saying, a crush is just a lack of information, and which is honestly pretty true because of it's kind of hard to hold somebody to a pedestal when you know them, when you understand their flaws, when you're able to recognize how much of a human with flaws and how regular they truly can be. But on the other hand, I feel like what people are truly looking for, and kind of another reason why I feel like being chopped doesn't really even matter in this day and age. If you meet someone that is chopped, let them have a decent mouthpiece. Just a decent one. Have a decent mouthpiece, have good morals, and is able to represents themselves in the community in a way that you adore. They're just gonna be handsome. It's nearly impossible. It's kind of like, woo, that kind of reminds me of when I hear people saying that they started dating their coworker and then it just like ruined everything. And then I'm like, well, do you know if the only reason why y'all quote unquote fell in love is because y'all see each other 40 to 60 hours every week? Are you sure that's not why y'all have this work romance? Are you sure that's why the Coldplay concert didn't go the way that Coldplay did? Maybe. But I will have to bring up a very important point. I feel like a lot of women never had truly attractive men, right? So they don't know what they are asking for. Because ridiculously pretty women are evil, and ridiculously handsome men are atrocious. They're just bad. They're bad to the bone. You just want someone that is average, that you could make very handsome. But that also leads me to my next point. The real world. I'm about to get really cocky and egotistical. So if you don't like that, leave a like and you could skedaddle. Leave a comment too. We've been really messing with the comments. I will say that we've been messing with the comments. Shouts out to y'all. But back to me. The real world is very important. And this is why I always stress, hey, I think everybody should be going out to clubs and bars and things of that nature, especially if you are a man. If you ever feel like you are average looking or ugly, go get a haircut, go brush your teeth, get ready for the day, and when night comes, go outside to your local bar. I promise you're going to feel a lot better I promise you'll feel a lot better about yourself. I swear. I promise. So a while ago, it was me, my girlfriend, and her homegirl. We go to a local bar. You know how women go. One of them said they wanted to use the bathroom, so they both went to go use the bathroom. Beyond the point. And they didn't go enjoy themselves. I'm just standing there, and I'm looking around. I'm like, wow. Ain't no way. I'm the prize. I'm the prize. That's the first thing I'm thinking about, because I'm like, oh, dang, the chop man epidemic could be very much real. I could say that. Which is always funny. This whole interaction is very funny, because the two things can be true. Is the average man pretty ugly? Yeah. But we don't want to say that about the other side, too. We do not want to have that type of conversation, because it gets very grimy quickly. And I didn't even realize how quickly that conversation could get so grimy. Because I was like, one of the reasons why red pill content, when I was hearing it and when I was getting so polluted out onto the internet in and of itself, I was getting so irritated because of some of the points are real. Some of the points are one of those universal truths, but they're universal truths that you are not supposed to say and spread. Do you know why? Because of an individual, especially a young boy, a young man, eventually learns those things. They eventually learn those things, and guess what? They also get context they get context. That is a big thing that is missing. So when you're just like telling this young boy, there's people here that will use you. Everyone just wants you for your money, and things of that nature. And it's like, well, kind of. But you need to live life to understand what is real and what is fake. And guess what? You're supposed to live life because something that's true for one person is not cool. It's not something that's true with one person is not true with everybody, because we are all born with different ideologies, we're born with different tastes, we're born with different lives. So trying to copy and paste whole personality traits into other people that it has no business being there is how you create antisocial bums. But yeah, that was I was thinking about that recently. So yeah.